Hi, girls and boys. So in our last reading video, I talked about how you need to use a lot of different strategies sometimes to figure out unfamiliar words that you don't know when you're reading nonfiction. Today, I want to review some of the strategies we've talked about in class to figure out tricky words. So it might not even be that you don't know what the word means. It might even be you don't know what the word says. And there's lots of different tricks we can try to figure out those words. It's sort of like when you take a lock, and sometimes you might put a key in one way and it doesn't quite open, and then you try a different way or a different angle or how you're turning it, and then you manage to open the lock. Tricky words can be like that. There's not just one way to figure them out. Sometimes you need to try a bunch of different ways to figure out those words.
Let's take a look at a few of the strategies we've used in class before to figure out tricky words. Remember that we've talked about how we roll up our sleeves. We don't just give up. We know it sometimes takes a lot of work to figure out those tricky words, and we are ready for that work in grade 2. So one strategy is check the picture and think what would make sense. You can also use what's happening in the story. Another strategy is to look through the whole word part by part, so chunking those longer words. You can look for a word inside a word that you know that can give you some good clues. We also want to remember not to give up. So just try something. Take a guess if no other strategies are working. And make sure to reread and ask, does that sound right? So if you think you might know, you can go back and read that sentence to see if that word fits. We can use vowel teams, so groups of 2 or more vowels, and ask, would a different sound help? So we can use a different vowel sound. And then we can also remember, don't just say the words, figure out what they mean too. And that will help give you some clues and help you to understand what you're reading, which is the most important part of reading. So here I've got a page about marine firefighters, and I'm looking at the last sentence on this page. It says, within 90 minutes, the fire was... and then I'm having trouble with this word. So my strategy that I'm going to try is to look through the whole word part by part. So I see X, and then I know ing says ing, so I'm going to go exting, and then I see ooshed, extinguished. Now this is starting to make me think of a word I know to do with fires. It makes me think of the word fire extinguisher, and that's what puts out fire. So I'm wondering if this could be extinguished. Let's try that. Within 90 minutes, the fire was extinguished. And I think that sounds right, and I think it would make sense that they put the fire out. On this next page about marine firefighters, I have a word I don't know, but I'm going to use the strategy of looking for a word I know inside. And I do see a word I know. I see the word or at the very end. So it's going to be monitor. And I've heard of that word. Let's see if it makes sense. They allow the crew to monitor a fire up close. Perfect. And then we'll do that next one. This word, I don't know if I see any words that I know inside, but I'm going to try to chunk it. So we'll go equipment. And I think I know that word, equipment, with modern equipment like this. Now here on this page about Viking ships, I've got a word that I'm having trouble with. It says Viking ships could survive, and I don't know what that UGH says. So could survive seas because they were strong but flexible. So I'm going to use what's happening on the page here and think about what would make sense. So I'm going to take a guess. What about rogue? Could survive rogue seas. That could make sense. I don't know if it sounds very familiar. I'll try something else. I know that tough has a OUGH and it says uff. So let's try rough. Viking ships could survive rough seas because they were strong but flexible. And I think that makes a lot more sense. And the next word on this page is that second red rectangle. And I see a word I know in that word. I see the word gate. So I'm going to do the parts around that word. So we've got navigate, and then I know ed at the end either says t or duh. So I think here it would be navigated, and that would make sense in that sentence. The Vikings navigated by using stars and the sun.
So remember, as you're reading nonfiction this week, that you need to be flexible and you need to be strategic as a reader, especially when you come upon those tricky words. There's lots of different strategies that you might need to use to figure out a tricky word, but it's worth all that work. We can roll up our sleeves and we can figure out those words. Have fun reading, guys. Bye.